it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 8 of my 2024 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a card using Lawn Fawn's Frosty Family add-on, Christmas Dreams, Ho Ho Holiday, and Bah Humbug. So I've stamped those images out on Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink on 2 separate panels, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. I am starting with my snowmen, and I am going to use BG Quadruple Zero, BG 10, and BG 11 for them. And since they are so large, I am going to do just one at a time. I'm adding some shading on the left side for this first snowman, which is going to be the dad, with that BG 11, and then blending out with the BG 10. I'm also adding a little shadow next to the little buttons and his carrot nose. And then I'll blend that out further with the BG Quadruple Zero and just let that fade into the plain white cardstock so that he has a bit of a frosty glow, but he still looks white. Then for the Mama Snow Woman, I'm going to flip my shadows and put hers on the right hand side. And that is because the dad is going to go on the left side of the card and the mom is going to go on the right side of the card. So it's going to be a central light source kind of like in the middle, right behind their heads. And then I'm going to shade the rest of these little snowmen kids and the critters, just depending on which direction they're facing then. And I'm going to do the rest of them off screen. I will come back to that panel later on, but it's the basic same coloring, so I didn't want to just keep going and show you guys like all of the different snowmen. I'm moving on to their rosy cheeks. I'm using RV10 and RV11 for that. A little bit of the RV11 first and then blending out with the RV10. I just think it gives them a nice little rosy glow. And then for their carrot noses, I'll use YR04 and YR07, just the 2 shades since it's such a small area. For their little twig hands, I'm going to use E53, E55, and E57, adding a little shading to the base of each twig and then also to the part where it kind of forks off. And I did 2 for each of the snow people. I wasn't sure how many of them I was going to need, so I just stamped enough for 2 for everybody, and some of them I used both and some of them I didn't, but I would rather have extra colored and die cut and ready to go and then not need them than the opposite way around. So I'm just going to color those in quickly, and like I said, I do have a few more on the second panel that I'm just coloring off screen to save time. Anything that is unique I will color on screen for you, but if it's just kind of the same things and the same color palette, then I'll skip ahead for this video. Then I'm going to move on to some charcoal gray. I'm using the neutral grays for today, using N3, N5, and N7. For the little charcoal buttons, I'm using just the N7 and blending out with the N3. And then for the hat, I wanted to use all 3 shades, but I quickly realized as I was coloring in his top hat that it wasn't quite dark enough. I wanted it to look a little bit more black. So I am going to end up doing a second layer of this, and I will bring in a 4th shade. But for now, I started with the N7, blended toward the right with the N5 and then the N3. But I am going to add in that N9 and do a whole second layer of all of those shades and just blend back across the way that I previously did, just using the 4 colors instead of the 3. And I was much happier with how that turned out. It definitely looks more black with the extra darkness. Then I'm going to keep using the neutral grays, but I'm going to lighten the combo, keeping that N3 and adding in N0 and N1, and I will do the white parts of my Santa hat just a touch of that N3 blended out with the N1, and then a little bit further with the N0. But again, I'm going to leave some of that cardstock just plain white so that it looks white. I don't want it to look dingy. I just want it to have some shading to it. And then I went back in with the N3 and the N1 and added a little dot detail to give it a fuzzy texture. Then I'm moving on to my red combo. I'm using R24, R29, and R39, and I'm going to do the Santa hat. This is for the mom snowman or snow woman. And then I'm going to give her a red scarf to match. So I did my shading with the R39 first on both of those, and since she's going on the right and her shading is on the right, the shading for her accessories should also be on the right. So that's how I'm determining that. Blending toward the left with the R29 and then filling in with the R24. I love this combo for Christmas. I just think it's so festive. It's such a beautiful Christmas red. I will also color in the small scarf and the additional small Santa hat with this combo. The Santa hat is from the Bah Humbug stamp set. There's a few smaller sized Santa hats in the different Lawn Fawn stamp sets, but this was the one that I wanted to use for this particular card. It's a little bit on the larger side for the small ones, and I thought that would suit the little snow kids the best. So again, just blending those out and coloring any red accessories on the second panel. And then I'll move on to some greens. I'm going to use G12, G14, and G16 for the hat, what's that called? Hat band, and the scarf for my snow dad. Starting with the G16 on the left, since his shading is on the left and he's going on the left. And then I blended out with the G14, and my G14 is drying out. I need to refill this marker, so it didn't blend great. But once I added that G12 and kind of feathered that into the G14, I feel like it was a lot better. So I did all of the green accessories on my second panel, and now I'm going to switch to that second panel since everything on the first one is colored. I'm going to go with a lighter green for the rest of my little hat using YG01, YG03, and YG05. And then I'll switch to a dark blue combo. I'm going to use B24, B26, and B29 for the other hat brim and pom-pom and the last scarf. Just doing both of those at once. And then I'm also going to use this combo for any remaining accessory images except for the center of that hat. So I will do the dog's collar, the ribbon on the dog bone, the gift wrap on the rectangular gift, and the ribbon on the green gift. And again, just always starting with that darkest shade, the B29, blending out with the B26, and then finishing with the B24. And then the only thing left after that is the center part of the stocking cap. So I'm going to switch to a lighter blue combo. I'm using BG01, BG02, and BG05. So it's very similar to the green one where the center part of the hat is lighter and then the brim and the pom-pom are darker. And I just added a little extra of that BG05, and then I grabbed a black Sakura Jelly Roll pen and got that going off to the side. And I'm going to go over the eyes of any of my snow critters or people that have their eyes open. It's just going to make them really bright and shiny. And then I'm going to trim all of these images out with their matching dies. For the background, I'm starting with a piece of Bristol Smooth Surface Cardstock, and I am going to blend some Distress Oxides onto this. I want to create a nighttime scene, And I wanted to have a little bit of a lighter patch in the top center of this panel. So I'm starting with my tumbled glass and kind of mapping out where I want to keep the lighter area. And then I'll come in with my next shade, which is going to be Salty Ocean, which is quite a bit darker. And I will add that in from all four sides. I will even bring it in toward the bottom. It doesn't have to go all the way down to the bottom because that area will be covered up by an additional panel. But I wanted to bring some of that darkness down toward the bottom where the snowdrift will go. Then I'm going to darken that up even further with some Blueprint Sketch. Just bringing that in on the edges. I'm not really worried about the blend at this point. I just want to block in the color. And then I will start working my way back to the center with the Salty Ocean. And then I will come back in with my tumbled glass. And it is going to get a fair bit darker, and that's okay. That was kind of the plan because it is a night sky, and I didn't leave a moon on here. I just wanted it to be kind of like the glow of the moon, and just making sure that that's kind of like even in the center there. Going back and forth, darkening up those edges a little bit more, doing a second layer of those Distress Oxide inks, which really helps them to blend and look more seamless. And then my final color is going to be Black Soot, so I will bring that in just carefully around the edges. I don't want too much of this. I really wanted the sky to be more blue toned to match the blues in the Copic coloring, but having a little bit of that Black Soot in there does bring a lot of depth. So I added that, and then I'm going to go back one last time with those other blue Distress Oxide inks. So Blueprint Sketch one more time, and then the Salty Ocean. Just bringing that in toward the center, and then finally the Tumbled Glass. Then I wanted to distress this a bit, so first I'm going to spritz some plain water onto an acrylic block. Pick that up with a paintbrush and tap it all over the background. I got a little bit too much over there on the right, but that's fine. It's actually going to get covered up, so I wasn't too worried about it. I wanted a little bit more of that, so I did a second layer and then blotted that up with a paper towel. And then I'm going to press some of the Blueprint Sketch onto the block, add some water to that, and do some splatter detail with that. It's just going to add some depth to the background with that darker color. And then finally I am going to go in with some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, which is just white acrylic paint in a jar. And mine has gotten quite hard, but that's okay, it still works. Just grab a bit out with a clean paintbrush, add that to my cleaned block, and then add some water to that. Mix it up, and then I'll splatter that on the background as well. I'll set that aside to dry, and then I am moving on to the rest of my background. I'm going to take the Spooky Forest backdrop and die cut that out of some white cardstock, and then just pop out any of the little pieces between the branches. I'll set that aside. Then I am going to die cut another piece of white cardstock with the Simple Stitched Hillside Borders, and just taping that into place with a little bit of Post-it tape, and then I'll run that through my die cut machine. And then I also need to die cut part of my sentiment. I'm using the Scripty Words Hugs, and I'm die cutting that out of some Barn Red cardstock. So that is just going to give me a really nice large sentiment that really adds a nice presence onto a card. And for the rest of this sentiment, I am going to white heat emboss onto some Lawn Fawn Black Licorice cardstock. So I'm first going to treat that with my Rabbit Hole Designs powder tool to eliminate any static cling. And then I am going to stamp my sentiment. This is from the Frosty Family stamp set. And I'm actually masking off one of the letters. So the word in that stamp set says holidays, but I just want it to say holiday. So I masked off the S with a little bit of Post-it tape. Ink that up with some Versamark ink and then stamp that down gently. And then I'm going to replace my mask, ink it up one more time, and stamp that down once again so that it's going to be a nice bold impression. Then I'll coat that with some Lawn Fawn white embossing powder, tap off any excess from the back, and then I'm going to heat up my heat gun off to the side for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then I bring it to both the back and the front, back and forth. It helps to eliminate some of the warping, but it also prevents your embossing powder from getting scorched, so it stays nice and crisp white. So once I have that done, I'll set that aside and pop my card base in my MISTI. I am stamping on the inside with some fish tank ink, and this time I chose a really small image and sentiment. It's just one of the other little baby snowmen, and the sentiment says, "You're so cool." Now I'm ready to start assembling, so I'm going to glue the background to my card front, and that is an A2 standard size card, so it's 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall. And then I'm also going to glue my snowdrift flat to the card right at the bottom. Then I've added some foam tape to the back of my spooky forest backdrop, and I've even lined some of the thicker branches with some foam tape as well. It's just the regular Scotch 3M foam tape, but I've trimmed it down into little pieces to kind of support that background a little bit more. And one of my foam tapes was kind of overlapping, so I just readjusted that, and then I'm going to line that up with the card front so that the corners are straight, and then pop that down into place. And then to give that a little bit of a frosty glow to match my snowmen, I am taking some of my Copic markers that I used for my snowmen. This is the BG10, and just adding a little bit here and there, really quick and easy. I'm not being too particular about it, but I just wanted to have a little extra dimension on this background so it's not so flat white. And because this is snowmen and they are made of the same snow that they're standing in, it just made sense for the background to have a bit of a frosty glow as well. So now I'm using the BG quadruple 0 and just blending that out a little bit and then letting that fade into the white cardstock. Then I can bring in my images, and I am going to start with the mom and dad snowmen because they are going to be furthest back in the scene. So I'm kind of building my way forward. And I have added a little bit of foam tape to the parts where they will be kind of overlapping the blue part of the sky, but I wanted their bases to be flat with the snowdrift because I wanted to layer some of the kiddos in front of them, but I didn't want too much foam tape in case this is a card that ends up going through the mail. So I'm going to add the mom and dad, get them situated first, and then to the mom I will add the Santa hat, and I will give her the red scarf to match, just snugging that up along her neckline. I love that there are so many different faces and accessories that you can give these guys. It just makes them almost like paper dolls to me, which was something that I really, really loved playing with as a kid. I used to actually even make my own paper dolls. If I didn't have a new set, sometimes I would draw them, or if I still had the paper doll but I just wanted more clothes, I would draw clothes. I would kind of trace some of the other ones onto paper and then color them in different ways to give them more outfits. And that's kind of what this set reminds me of. So I've added the accessories to mom and dad, and now I've added 2 of the kiddos down below. In between them, I wanted to have some critters on this card, so I added the dog and cat. So this isn't exactly my family. It would have been if I hadn't added the cat, because we don't have a cat. I'm allergic, but because we do have 3 kids, and a dog. But I don't know. I just wanted to have the cat on there, and also it just looked more balanced to have the cat and the dog. So anyway, it's not exactly my family, but that's okay. And now I'm just going to go ahead and accessorize the kiddos. I added the blue hat to the little snow kid down at the bottom left, and then I remembered that was not supposed to go there. It was actually supposed to go on the one between the mom and the dad, because my idea was kind of to break up the colors by going kitty corners. So the dad has the green, he's on the left, and then the little kiddo at the bottom right also has the green. And then the mom at the top right has red, and the little kiddo at the bottom left has the red. And then the little kiddo between them has the blue, and then the dog down below has the blue. So kind of just like making almost like a snowflake shape with the way that I arranged the colors of their accessories. So I'll add the little green hat to the other snow kid on the right. And then I wanted to give the dog and cat some little gifts, because I wanted this to almost look like it's the family gift exchange. So they have their little gifts down in front of them. And now I'm going to start adding in some of these little twig arms so that I can have my snow people be holding different things. So the dad is going to be holding this larger rectangular gift, so I went and tucked that in his arm. And then I wanted my kiddo down below to kind of be holding something up. I wasn't sure which item yet. Originally I thought the stocking, but then I thought that was too much red over on that side, so I decided to switch it for something else, and I'll figure that out in a bit. But in his other hand, I wanted to give him one of the candy canes. I wanted each of the kids to have a candy cane in their arms, so that's why I stamped 3 of those. Mom, I gave the Christmas list because that is so me. I always have a list for Christmas so that I can keep track of everything, because there's just no way that I would be able to stay on top of everything that I've bought so far or what I still need to buy. So I definitely always have my Christmas checklist going. The kiddo up above is going to have both hands raised in the air, and I'll give him a little candy cane to hold as well. And then the kiddo at the bottom also needs to have something in his hands. It does have the eyelashes, but I only have boys, so in my head this is one of the boys as well. And then he's going to have the stocking, since that kind of pulls the red over to that side at the bottom as well. I gave him another little hand to hold his candy cane, which I'll get to in a second. But I decided to add the green gift to the little snow kid on the right. He's kind of the teenager since he's a little bit bigger. The other 2 are similar in size. And actually, even though all of my boys are almost 2 years apart, they're like 20.5 weeks apart. My younger 2, people used to think that they were twins when they were little because they were pretty much the same size. They're not the same size anymore. My youngest is actually bigger than my middle one. But anyway, I'm going to add my word hugs toward the top of the scene, kind of overlapping part of the scene just a little bit. And then I trimmed down the rest of the sentiment with one of the everyday sentiment banners. So the word holiday is going to go above the word hugs, and then the rest of it was going to go below the word hugs, but I ran out of room, so I decided to tuck that down at the bottom of the scene. And I actually like how that turned out because it brought the black all the way down to the bottom. So once again, it's kind of spreading out the colors across the card. Last step is, of course, to add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm using my favorite accessory, Stardust Stickles, to add some sparkle to all of their accessories. I normally tend to add it to the white parts of a Santa hat, and today I just decided to mix it up and add it to the red parts instead, and then added it to all of their little hats and scarves, and to the ribbons on the gifts, the collar on the dog, just the tag on the collar. And then I also decided to add it to the bottom of the word hugs. So just giving that a little bit of sparkle as well. And then just making sure it was kind of like equal across the board at the same height. And that is going to finish up this card. I had a lot of fun with this one. I was so excited to play with this stamp set. I'm so glad I finally got a chance to do it. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you have this set, if you have made your own family yet. I would love to know. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell if you want to be alerted when I post new videos. All of the products I used are listed and linked in the description bar below in case you'd like to pick up anything for yourself. And if you'd like to keep watching, here is day 8 of the previous 2 years of holiday card series. And thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really hope you had a good one, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.